Hello and welcome to another episode of The Field of 68 After Dark. My name is Rob Doster. I have Jeff Goodman with me, and we have quite a bit of news to talk about, Goodman. It feels like every time we do one of these episodes, we put together a rundown and we come up with a plan for what we want to talk about, and 4 or 5 different things pop that completely blow up what that rundown is supposed to be. Luckily, we were kind of ahead of the game. We knew that a couple guys were going to be making commitments, and it was 2 of the best wings that were left on the board in the portal available to be recruited here. Andrej Stojakovic committed to Illinois. Cedric Coward has committed to Duke. 2 big programs, 2 big brands, 2 programs that needed a wing in those spots, and 2 programs that landed one of their main targets out of the portal. Which is the bigger splash for you? Is it Cedric Coward committing to Duke? Is it Andrej Stojakovic becoming like the 17th member of the Balkans to make his way to play for Daddy Brad, for Balkan Brad, for the Fighting Illini here? What's your take? Who's the bigger commitment out of those 2?
Yeah, you need a new shirt, first of all. You need to update your shirt and your clothing attire, which we will do soon. So anybody who's watching here, any Illini fans, be on the lookout for a new piece of clothing,
merch. The word you're looking for is merch.
Merch. That's the word I was looking for. These 9:00 starts are getting to me right now. I would say it's probably Stojakovic, just because he is going to college, where we don't know yet for 100% certainty that Cedric Coward is going to Duke. He's going through the process right now, the NBA draft process. There's certainly optimism from his camp that he could stay in the draft. He is a versatile wing who can really shoot the hell out of the ball. But Stojakovic is a guy that, gives Illinois a score on the perimeter that they desperately needed right now to go along with the Ivicic brothers, with Boswell, with some of their other guys. He gives them another skilled guy that hasn't shot it well from deep his first 2 years in college, which surprised me, Rob, because I remember when we saw him a couple times in Rock Hill a couple summers ago, he shot the hell out of the ball. But he's more scorer than shooter, but he averaged almost 18 a game, not for a great team last year, the Cal Bears, but 18 still 18 at a high major level. And I think even if he can average 14 or 15 this year for the Illini, it would be huge for Brad Underwood and Illinois. I just think, it's fascinating right now to see the experiment that Brad Underwood has put together in Champaign. You would have thought he was the last coach probably on the planet that would have gone this route and gone full all in with international. I know Stojakovic grew up in the U.S., but certainly his dad has international lineage, and obviously the Ivicic brothers. But he's gone all in, and I think he feels like, talking to him and some people around him, like, these guys are probably a little bit more coachable in a sense than some of the other guys that are coming in right now with higher price tags. And these guys have high price tags as well.
Yeah, I think that the experiment is going to be really interesting to see how this plays out, mostly just because, it's a different style of basketball that a lot of these guys are playing. And Stojakovic is a little bit different. Like, he played his high school ball here. He did the EYBL thing. But Mahalo Petrovic, Dave Markovic, the Ivicic brothers are guys that developed. They really, cut their teeth playing overseas. And it's just a different style. And seeing how the makeup of what more or less will amount to, a EuroLeague team, or maybe like a U21 EuroLeague team at this point, is something that will be really interesting to see how that translates to the Big Ten. I think it is going to work. I'm a little curious how he's going to play the
Ivicic brothers together. Can they guard, though? That's the big – they're going to score. We know Illinois is going to be fun to watch, and they're going to score. They might score more than any team in the country. And last year, remember, they were like good for a stretch defensively, and we were all shocked. And I think one of us, Rob Doster, picked them to be the number 2 team in the country at one point in a 1-versus-2 battle between Duke, Illinois at the Garden in February. That did not come to fruition. They couldn't
Hey,
guard down the
listen,
stretch.
it's not my fault that the entire roster came down with the flu at the exact same time. Okay.
Oh,
Maybe we need to
sure.
practice a little social distancing there. Maybe if people are sick, we don't have them like sharing plates. Maybe get everyone their own meal instead of having everyone to pick out of the same. It is what it is. Listen, I think that they have good defensive pieces, right? I think that Kai Boswell is one of the better on-ball defenders that you're going to find in the Big Ten. Like, he's a guy that can shut the water off for a lot of different players. I think that Stojakovic is like at least big and versatile on the wing, and then Tommy Ivasic is a guy that he has his flaws, but when he is healthy and he hasn't lost 15 pounds mid-season, he can take up a lot of space and he's a good rebounder. I'm going to go ahead and buy that Mahalo Petrovic, a 22-year-old that was pushing for MVP status in the Adriatic League, is going to come in at the very minimum be a capable defender in the backcourt. So I think that they got enough to be able to win a lot of games, right? The question is, and this is kind of like a bigger picture question. The question I have is, they are spending this year, right? It's very clear that Illinois is spending. They're not spending more than anybody. There's a lot of teams out there there are at least a couple teams out there that are spending more money than the Illini, but they're going to be somewhere in the top 10 range, maybe even top 5 in terms of how much their roster cost. And I think Brad Underwood has done a really, really good job. If you look at the kind of the results recently, he had the Elite 8 in 2024. He won the Big Ten the year that they had Kofi Coburn at the 5, right? And it's Illinois has been nationally relevant for a consistent basis for longer than probably since like the Bill Self era, consistently year in and year out, nationally relevant. But they haven't quite made the leap. So my question to you, Jeff, is this, where do you view like the job that Brad Underwood has done with Illinois, developing the program and getting this program back to prominence?
I mean, he's done a hell of a job. They've been relevant every year lately, nationally relevant. So, like you said, that's more than we can say under the Bruce Weber or the John Gross regimes.
Mm-hmm.
They had kind of moments, spurts, but Brad Underwood has made him relevant every single year. And again, relevance now comes with finances, and he's got finances right now, so they're going to be relevant in the preseason. But the big question is, how do the pieces fit together? Again, I think offensively they're going to be just fine. A lot of these kids who come over, certainly, like you said, they're older, number one, and they're well schooled and taught extremely well. In terms of moving the basketball, in terms of making good decisions, some of those things. But you still worry about them being able to adapt to not just the college game, but just being over here. I think it'll help that they have a bunch of guys that are going through the same thing or have gone through the same thing recently. That'll certainly help these guys that are coming over right now. But it's going to be fascinating to watch how good they are and how Brad deals with it. The great thing about Brad Underwood is he's really adapted at a point when I think a lot of us weren't sure he would be able to, coming from that, Bob Huggins, Frank Martin tree, Andy Kennedy. How would he adapt to this? But he's done about as good a job as anybody in his kind of age group has done in college basketball.
Yep, I tend to agree, man. He's kind of changed who he is. We think of him normally, at least I think of him as a guy that's going to play defense and try to force turnovers and try to really, really push tempo. And we've seen a couple different iterations of what Illinois basketball has looked like under him. So you got to give him credit for that. The other commitment, Cedric Coward committing to Duke. I know there is a chance that he ends up staying in the draft, and I think it's a little more likely than maybe some people are kind of giving it credit. Like, this dude is built to be your prototypical role player wing, but let's just talk about this as if he's going to end up as Duke. So when you were listening to this conversation, understand there's a chance that he won't be there. I think he is absolutely the perfect fit that they could have gotten for the role that they are going to ask him to play. You got a couple guys that are absolute flamethrowers on the perimeter in Darren Harris and Isaiah Evans. You got point guards in Caden Boozer and Caleb Foster that are bigger, that are more physical, especially in the case of Caden. You have Cam Boozer, who you could build everything around and that you need spacing around. And you got a couple other guys, the Kamenia kid. I'm sorry if I pronounced that name incorrectly. Malik Brown at the 5 is switchable. Pat Ngangba still there. What you really just needed in that rotation was another guy that could guard up, that could guard down, that can make threes, that can make good decisions, and that was going to basically force defenses to run him off the three-point line. I think that is absolutely 100% Cedric Coward. I think when it comes to fit, this is about as good as you can find for the role that Duke needed somebody to play.
So can I read you a scouting report from somebody who knows him pretty well, just so people can understand who he is a little bit? Because let's face it, I mean, he spent the majority of his career in Eastern Washington. He played 6 games this past season for Washington State before suffering a season-ending shoulder injury. All right, strengths, motor, work ethic, touch around the rim, three-point shooting. He shot nearly 40% for 2+ years in college. Unselfish, disciplined, length, mid-range game footwork. Weaknesses, not as much experience guarding on the perimeter, still getting experience attacking ball screens. Not an elite level athlete as far as explosiveness and quickness. I asked this person to compare him to, the college version. Who's he like in the NBA? Give me a comparison a little bit. And they said a little bit like a Jimmy Butler, Kawhi Leonard. That type of player, that type of build, length, toughness, defensive tenacity. Obviously, Kawhi's become a great shooter. He certainly wasn't at San Diego State. Neither was Jimmy Butler, frankly, in college. So I think Coward's got him beat there from a pure shooting standpoint. But, I love the fact that the toughness, the ability to lock down, obviously he had a lot of confidence at that level. He's not going to be asked to play the same role, certainly at Duke, but can he be a lockdown defender? Can he be a guy who's a 3-and-D guy for the most part, but able to put the ball on the floor a little bit as well?
Yeah, I think he absolutely can. And I don't know if you remember this. We were the head of the game when it comes to the Cedric Coward scouting and evaluation. He was on our broadcast when we did WCC Media Day when Washington State was out there. He was one of the guys that we interviewed. And I'll tell you this much. When I remember, like, when we talked to him, it was like, yeah, this kid's pretty confident for someone that's playing at Washington State, transferred from Eastern Washington. And I think that confidence is kind of, paid off. I believe he started playing at a D3 college. And I love to see guys that are D3 products making their way to the next level. You mentioned playing a role. I think we talked about this a lot last year with Duke. I think that what Jon Scheyer is trying to build and the way that he's trying to build this program is in the image of what NBA teams are right now, where you have one kind of go-to guy, the go-to scorer, and then a bunch of guys around him that can do different things, that can shoot, that are switchable, that can allow you to be able to play the kind of defense that they played last year. And I think that that's what Cedric Coward fits in. It's part of the reason why, frankly, I think he's a guy that could end up getting himself a guaranteed contract, if not being a first-round pick, if he decides to keep his name in the draft, because he is the prototype of what you're looking for like a 3-and-D perimeter player.
So this is really interesting for Jon Scheyer and Duke, right? Because most schools at that level would say, you know what? I don't know if we're going to take a guy like this unless you commit to us that you're going to withdraw from the draft. I'm not sure we're going to take you. We'll go get a guy that we know we're going to get. So it's going to be interesting now to see if Coward withdraws or not, and kind of how this thing plays out through the draft process if he does continue to go through it. But we have a special guest right now that Rob Doster has no idea is coming on, and we haven't seen him here in a few weeks, and he kind of gave us the Heisman last time that we did.
Hey!
Look at him. There he is. There he is, national title champion Todd Golden of the Florida Gators out there. Living his best life out in we're not going to say where you are, Todd. We're going to keep it a secret to keep the paparazzi away from you, okay?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Todd, what's going on, man? It's good to see you. Look, you win a national championship. Look at the size of that smile that he's got coming on. Normally, when we get Todd Golden,
that's because I get to be here with you guys right now, man. That's why I'm so excited. It's been crazy, man. It's all good. Obviously, it really still hasn't sunk in all the way, I would say, and we had to get right back to work, as you all know, with the way our profession is and roster building and retention and getting ready for the summer and everything. But it's been a pretty special time, that's for sure.
Well, take me through
Todd. Give me the biggest. Give me the coolest thing that's happened to you in the last 3 weeks since you won the national title. Give me the coolest thing or person, or give me a couple things if you got them.
The coolest thing for me, honestly, by far, I would say is, before we went to the tournament, Coach K had me on his podcast, for the first time. And people don't know this about me. Both my uncles went to Duke, and I grew up a big Duke fan, believe it or not, in Phoenix, Arizona. And so, being with him that first time was pretty special. And then he had me back on again after we won it. And, just hearing him talk about our team, and, he was right behind our bench for the final 4 games. And, he said, you guys were worthy of winning. You were worthy of winning. And hear that from Coach K, I was like, damn, dude, I should probably retire right now. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to top. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to top that. It was a pretty neat moment for sure.
So you grew up a Duke fan in Phoenix, Arizona. Were you also a Lakers fan and a Cowboys fan and a Yankees fan?
No, I'm not Jonathan Sapphire. I'm not that guy. I was loyal to the Phoenix Suns and loyal to the Arizona Cardinals. I grew up a Cubs fan because we didn't have baseball early on in Arizona until the Diamondbacks came into existence. But I can understand why it might be received as that when hearing that I was a Duke fan for sure.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so let me ask you this, right? You were you did a year in the real world, in the business world, after you finished playing for Maccabi Haifa, right? Did I pronounce that right? Maccabi
Haifa, yeah.
Killed it.
Maccabi Haifa. I obliterated that. I'm sorry. I did butcher it. You're right. I apologize. But you did a year in the real world, and I think that was like 2011, 2012, somewhere around there. If I would have told you in 2012 that you're about a decade away from taking the Florida Gators back to a national championship, what would you have told me?
I would have thought you were out of your mind, dude. I never in a million years, would have thought that this was kind of the path that would have been taken. And I played those 2 years overseas, and a big part of going into the business world was I just, I wanted to move back to the Bay Area, go hang out with my friends, have weekends and kind of live a normal life. And after doing that for about 18 months and spending a lot of the time in, a suit and tie selling advertising and marketing assets, I realized that, I might want to try this basketball thing again. And fortunately, Kyle had a spot open. Kobe Altman had just left his staff at Columbia to go work in the NBA with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I took the director of basketball ops job, and the rest is history.
All right. So what has it been like? Because again, you end the season on the ultimate high, winning the national title. You have that kind of boat parade that night. Give us a glimpse into that first, and then what it's been like, the insanity of the portal since, and watching a roster that you thought would, where you hoped it would remain intact, and it hasn't quite been that way.
Yeah, no, I mean the range of emotions, from winning it, everything you can imagine. I mean, just the highest of highs. Our staff has been together for a long time, so being able to go from starting really at Columbia with the majority of these guys to getting to an incredible place like Florida and winning national championship was something that we were all incredibly proud of. As you guys know, we had a really special group this year. Those 3 senior guards on the perimeter gave us great leadership, and then our front court guys like Alex Condon, Tommy Houck, Ruben, and Micah. We just had a really deep, complete team, and we had that boat parade. We were able to be honored in a couple of different things, around campus in Gainesville, and it was just amazing, man. It just was something that we'll never forget, and right into the portal, as you said, and we've done a pretty good job for the most part, retaining the guys that we wanted to keep. Obviously, losing Denzel was tough, and we wish him nothing but the best, but I'm pretty confident we'll be able to find someone to take that spot, and I think the Gators will have a pretty good group again next year.
Have you had a chance to really soak in and celebrate this championship yet?
No, no, not really. There's different times, right? Like when my wife and I are sitting eating at dinner, and it just kind of pops in your head that you won a national championship. I mean, it's a little surreal still. Like I said, and there's been moments where, Carlin Hartman and I, or our staff and I, just sit there and kind of pinch ourselves and that we've been able to make it to the pinnacle of our profession. But I'm not sure we ever will, to be honest. I think there will be times and moments where we enjoy it, but the joy is definitely in the doing, and being able to be with this group for 40 games is amazing. And, we're going to try to replicate it and do it again.
You brought in Xavier Lee. I think you could talk about him. I think you guys signed him from
Yep.
Princeton. Guard who's certainly going to help give people a feel, because he was in the Ivy, so not a lot of people got a chance to see him a ton of times. Give people a feel for what he's going to bring to the Gators and how you're going to utilize him.
Yeah, I think Xavier is just, first of all, he's an elite offensive player. I think that's the best way I would describe him. He's, and even at Princeton, in the Ivy League, the one thing that really stood out to us about his performance was he has always performed as well against tier A and B competition as he does against everybody else. And to be able to do that, obviously playing in our league, you're playing against most all A and B teams, and just an incredible shooter, has gotten better there every year at Princeton. Where he's incredibly elite is his ball handling and his playmaking. He had like a 35% assist rate with a 14% turnover rate last year. And for the stat nerds like us, to have an assist rate like that and a turnover rate that low says a lot about his ball handling and his playmaking ability. And, I just think he's going to be able to give us a big scoring punch and playmaking punch, from the point guard position. And we'll play him on the ball quite a bit this year.
You have to be the only coach in the country that's going to get on here and start talking about assist rates and turnover rates and trying to identify players in the portal. Man, I love it, because that's exactly the stuff that like us college basketball internet people do, and it's kind of cool to see you be able to do that. The one guy I wanted to hit you on, you mentioned him earlier, Tommy Hawk. I have a list right now. It's a very short list right now, but a list of guys that I'm going to have for breakout stars for next year. Everyone loves doing these lists. I only have 3 people on the list. The first name that I wrote down was Tommy Hawk. Yeah, breakout stars. Tommy Hawk. Talk to me about him.
Tommy
he broke out already. He already broke out.
He broke out in the tournament. Oh, he broke out all year, to your point, but he's going to really be on everybody's radar going into this season. Tommy is the consummate teammate, the consummate winner. Just, his willingness to do whatever it took for us to be successful was at the forefront all year. He came off the bench for us, and then when Kondo went down with an ankle in the middle of the year, he stepped into a starting role and played fantastic. And, obviously Tommy didn't start for us, but he finished most games for us. And, got really confident shooting the ball, attacking the rim off closeouts. That's where he made his biggest jump. He only scored 3 or 4 points a game as a freshman for us, and averaged 9 a game this year, and really double figures for a majority of the conference play. But he's a guy that's really maturing into a complete player, has the ability to score, obviously both inside, and then he's stretching it out from 3. He play makes well. He can really pass for a front court player. And we're going to play him more at the 3 this year. We hope that we get his running mate, Alex Condon, back. And if we do, we'll play really, really big this year. We'll start Tommy at the 3, Kondo at the 4, and one of the other bigs at the 5, and try to overpower people a little bit. But Tommy's he's a definite NBA player. I'm really glad and fortunate that he's coming back for sure for the Gators next year.
All right, my last question for you. Again, I'm guessing you're somewhere on one of those beaches in the LA area. I'm not going to guess which one, but when you walk around now, like nobody knew who you were 3.5 weeks ago. Let's be honest. Nobody knew. You could walk everywhere and nobody. Am I wrong?
Nobody. No, that's correct. Even in Gainesville up until about the middle of the year.
So what is it like now? Is it the same when you're outside of Gainesville right now and you're walking up and down that beach boulevard right there behind you? If you walked up and down a mile, how many people would recognize you now, do you think?
Honestly, I think I'm pretty clear out here. I'm not wearing any Gator clothes. I got the Ray-Bans if I need them, so I can keep the eyes behind. And, as you guys know, it's a pretty relaxed vibe out here. I'm not sure how many folks that are walking these boardwalks watch the Gators this year, but the game has changed in Gainesville. I can promise you that. It's hard to even watch my son's baseball games in terms of the pictures and autographs and things of that nature. But listen, if that's the worst problem that we're going to have after winning the national championship, I'll be able to manage and deal with that. But at least on the West Coast, I think we're still all right.
Hey, you just got to start coaching. Once you get in the coaching the Little League, you get in that dugout, they're not going to take pictures of you. So come on, man, step up. You be a Little League coach?
It's not a bad idea. I don't, but it's not a bad idea. My wife coaches my son's basketball team, and they went undefeated. So she deserves a lot of credit for that.
So we know who the best coach in the family is. We know where the real brains of the Gator family is here.
Absolutely.
Listen, Todd, go enjoy your time on the beach, man. You earned it. Appreciate you being here. This was a good surprise, Goodman. Not everyone ends up working out well, but this one worked out well. Thanks, Todd.
Hey, you guys,
Thanks, man.
hey, just say hello to a couple people real quick. Carlin, say hi.
Hey!
Oh, there he is.
What's
Look
up,
at
guys?
this.
We need
We got
Condo
the crew
back. We
there.
need
We're
Condo
just
back.
hanging out with some Gators. All right,
Yeah,
gentlemen.
smart move.
Have a great
smart
night.
move. Hey, do your best pitch. All right. Increase the money offer.
he knows what the value is about being a Gator. I can promise you that.
There you go. There you go. Thanks, Todd.
Todd.
All right, boys. See you.
That was a good one, Goodman. That was a good one. All right, I was really wondering what to expect, what you had up your sleeve, but that was a good one. Listen, we have a lot more to get to. We have a lot more to get to on the show. We got to talk about a guy that's transferring out there to Southern California, Chad Baker-Mazara and USC. What the hell is happening there? We got to get to Dylan Darling, who has committed to St. John's, and maybe just so happened to make me look dumb for what I said on last Wednesday's show. Doug McDaniel, is he the replacement for PJ Haggerty at Memphis? And we need to get into the 6 portal guys that are currently in the draft. 6 of the best available transfers are also having their name in the draft. So we're going to talk about all of that and more coming up next. If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Go download the BetMGM app and use the code FIELD today. College basketball fans, are you ready to take your hoops game to a new level? Whether you're a seasoned bettor or just trying to win your March Madness office pool, Rhythm is here to give you the edge this season. With data-driven predictions for every single college basketball game left on the schedule, Rhythm helps you maximize your bets. And as March Madness kicks off, Rhythm's insights will help you spot those plucky Cinderellas that you know are going to shake up the NCAA tournament. But that's not all. When Selection Sunday rolls around, let Rhythm's AI-powered bracket generator do the heavy lifting for you. This is the same AI tool that performed 35% better than the average ESPN bracket last year. And here's the best part. Rhythm pairs perfectly with our Field of 68 expert analysis, giving you the 1-2 punch that you need for the rest of the college basketball season. So don't wait. Download Rhythm today and get ready to see college basketball and your betting results in a whole new light. Welcome back to the Field of 68 After Dark. Rob Dosser, Jeff Goodman. We were just joined by Todd Golden, and we may have another special guest here coming up in about 5 minutes. Before we get to that guest, let's talk about Chad Baker-Mazara here. He left Auburn. We talked about the situation there involved with Auburn and kind of what happened with the contract that he had signed last week on Wednesday. And he has committed to USC. For a large amount of money. Eric Musselman, Chad Baker-Mazara in the same locker room. What could go wrong, Goodman? Nothing. This is going to be smooth sailing.
This is a reality show. That's what this is. An absolute reality show waiting to happen. But, Muss needed talent. And in the last week, he's spent a lot of money to get it, but he's gotten Rodney Rice and Chad Baker-Mazara, 2 guys who can score the ball at different positions. We went through Chad Baker-Mazara's whole situation last week of, certainly the contract and now what'll happen. Obviously he's made enough money now to pay the buyout of $650,000 or so if he wants to. or chooses to. But the fit here is going to be interesting because, obviously he's a guy that we know can score the ball and is going to have a bigger role in LA. The question is, are they going to have enough to make USC relevant with just Rodney Rice and Chad Baker-Mazara, two guys who have been really good complementary players, but still complementary players at their former spots? Can they step forward and be, a Batman and Robin together without a dude next to them? That's the biggest thing for me. But, Chad Baker-Mazara certainly got paid here somewhere in the neighborhood, I think, of about $3 million to go to USC. And now we'll see, Chad Baker-Mazara in LA with Eric Musselman is going to be extremely interesting to watch.
Yeah, I'm a little worried from a USC perspective about how this is going to work when you've invested the amount of money that they've invested. According to reports, it was over 3 for Rodney Rice and over 3 for Chad Baker-Mazara, right? That's more than $6 million for two guys that I don't know if they are the number one option on a team that can compete for a Big Ten championship or even maybe top 5 in the Big Ten. That's my biggest concern, is I think both of those guys are at their best in the Robin role, and I don't know if they have a Batman on that roster. So we'll see how that ends up working out. The one thing I will say is that we've seen with Musselman, when he is at his best, especially at Arkansas, he did it at Nevada too, but when he is at his best, he is doing the NBA thing where he figures out one set, one play, one matchup, one thing that will work in a game, and he will go to it over and over and over again and beat you to death with it. And I do think that Chad Baker-Mazara is good enough where you could put him in a situation where he can win a lot of matchups one-on-one, especially when you're able to create mismatches. And that's the kind of thing that Eric Musselman can do really well with. So just from a basketball perspective, I do think that that's going to make a lot of sense. But in terms of what the expectation is within a program and within a team, Bruce Pearl lets you do whatever you want, more or less, offensively. And Eric Musselman does not. He is the opposite. And it will be very interesting. And I'm using that word interesting specifically.
The other guy we haven't mentioned, Rob, we haven't mentioned at USC is, and we've gotten good news about him today, is Elijah Arenas, who was in that car crash the other day. Obviously was out of the coma. It sounds like on Gilbert Arenas' show, Gil wasn't there today, but there was a report that basically Elijah's going to be, getting home from the hospital here soon. But, I mean, talk about 3 guys who can score the ball if Elijah Arenas is back healthy for USC. And I've seen him plenty. I mean, he is 6'6". He can score. I mean, he is a bucket like his dad was. And I watch his dad a ton as I went to Arizona. He is a bucket, but he's much bigger and longer than Gil was and much further along at the same stage than Gil was. So you talk about guys who can score. The big question is going to be on the defensive end of the floor.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the same thing. I'm not as worried defensively, though. They have a whole bunch of big bodies up front and a bunch of athletes where I do think that they'll be able to kind of do what they need to be able to do.
They don't have a point guard right now. That's what they don't have. They don't have a point guard, which is a little scary.
I'm not as worried about that with Muss just because of the what he does and the way that his offenses work. He just finds a matchup that he can take advantage of, and he just goes at it over and over and over and over again. Speaking of point guards that committed, we had 2 in recent days. Dylan Darling going to St. John's and Doug McDaniel making his way to Memphis to replace PJ Haggerty. I think that the Dylan Darling commitment is the biggest one. He's coming from Idaho State, right? Idaho State, and is a guy that you're pretty high on in terms of his fit with St. John's. They needed a point guard. Is he the guy that can fill that role that Rick Pitino is going to be looking for?
I think he's a great plan B if Ian Jackson doesn't work, which I know you and I, neither one have a ton of confidence that Ian Jackson is a point guard. He's really not. He's a scoring guard. He's a scoring guard. But let's get back to Dylan Darling. after we bring in probably the biggest news of the day, which is Cedric Coward committing on his visit to Duke today. And there he is, the Washington
What's
State
up, y'all?
transfer. How are you, man? Good to see you. Congrats.
I'm good, and yourself?
Good day.
Good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
How crazy is it, man, that you've gone from Eastern Washington?
Hold on, I think he just got. I think he just got in an elevator, and we just lost him for a second. So let's see how many floors he has to go up before we get him back here. Well, hopefully,
he might be at that nice Washington. What is that? Washington Duke Inn or something like that, right across the street from Cameron Indoor Stadium. Beautiful.
Oh,
the cell reception's not great there, though. Not great. They need to upgrade that. But yeah, another quick on Darling.
Yeah.
Before we get back, and we'll get Cedric back here in a minute, but Darling, tough, can play for Rick Pitino, really, really fast, shooting improved. He can run the team, he can guard. But let's bring Cedric back in for round number 2. All right, Cedric, don't get in any elevators. All right, no elevators.
Yeah, my bad.
You gotta stay still.
My bad.
Can you stay still? Or are you walking down the floor to your room?
Give me 10 seconds.
You're good. You're good. We'll bear with you. All right. Well, hopefully we don't lose him again going into his room here. We might have to go.
Okay.
All right, here he is.
All right, we're good, man.
All right.
Television.
All right, I'm good.
All right. You're frozen, but we can kind of see you. You good now? I think
Yeah,
you're good.
I'm good.
All right, let's do it. Just know, I'm going to give you a little tip. Next time you do an interview, don't go on an elevator. All right, just don't.
Yeah, I got you.
Congrats again. What was it, obviously, about Duke? Because it was Duke, Alabama were the final 2 for you, but you had about 4 schools in there as of a week, 2 weeks ago. What was it about Duke where you wanted to get this done now?
Honestly, Coach Shire and the staff made it feel like home, made it feel like it was the place where not only I was needed, but kind of like, in a way, I gravitated towards it and I was the best fit, not only basketball wise, but also for the culture and who I am as a person. They value a lot of the same things I value in terms of just people and especially on the basketball court. But the connection I built with them, even though I knew them for a short time and then continuing to know them, it feels like I've known them forever.
Take me through kind of the start of your college career, because you started at a Division III program as a fellow Division III college basketball player. Let me tell you that there weren't a lot of guys that I played against that had the ability to one day go play for Duke. So let's just say that.
Yeah.
Did you hit like a late growth spurt? How did your career kind of go the way it went? Because it's a unique story.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, there's a whole bunch of excuses I can make in terms of like I wasn't looked at or didn't play on it. I never played on an AAU circuit or all that stuff. But to be honest with you, I just wasn't that good. Like I wasn't that good to play at Duke, and obviously as a kid, like Duke and Kansas, and a lot of the schools that I looked up to and watched on TV. You had dreams playing there, but I didn't really have I guess, the work to match the ambition of wanting to go there. And so it proved me going D3 at a high school. And I thank my coaches at D3 because that experience really helped me grow, not only as a man, but as a basketball player as well, absolutely consuming myself at the game and realizing to the level I wanted to get to, I had to get better and I had to put in more work.
So what is the best part of your game? If I had to say pick one thing out that is your biggest strength right now as a player, what is it?
Versatility. I can do anything and everything. I like to win. That's the biggest thing for me. And I don't care if I got to score 40 points or I got to score 4 points. But whatever I need to do in order to win the game and win each and every possession, because at the end of the day, what is tracked is wins and losses. Obviously they track stats, but if you average 40 points a game, but you're on a losing team, that's worse than averaging 14 points a game on a winning team. And with the school I just committed to, I know what the expectation is, and I don't expect anything less from us as a team, from me as a player, and just to be able to showcase my skill set of being so versatile that you can tell me to do anything, I'm gonna get it done.
Cedric, we talked to you last year at WCC Media Day, one of the 8-hour long live streams that we did. If I would have told you in that interview that by the time the season's over, you're going to play 6 games, you're going to be done for the year with a shoulder injury, and then when it's all said and done, your choice is going to be between the NBA, Duke, and Alabama for where you're going to end up playing. Would you have believed me when we were sitting there at that table that would be the path that you would be taking?
No shot. I honestly probably would have cut you off when you mentioned the shoulder injury, because then I would have been like, "Why are you putting that in the air?" But it's something you can't predict, And I'm in a unique situation, and I'm in a blessed situation to where, although I did only play 6 games and I did have a shoulder injury, that it's not, obviously I didn't play, but I don't call it's not a setback for me. It's just a thing where it happened. You can't go back on it, but all you can do is maximize each day while learning to deal with something new. It's just like a bump in the road. I think one thing that was like made me secure myself during this whole process was, Coach Riley told me, he was like, "Man, your shoulder injury is a speed bump in the road. Meanwhile, like, you going to D3 was like a wall in the road you had to get around." You know what I mean? So I've been through a lot tougher things and a lot of things that seemed more impossible than coming back from the shoulder injury. So being able to deal with this was kind of easy, and I had the right people in my corner in order to, keep my head straight and, keep me motivated on what the ultimate goal was, and still
Hey,
is.
how old are you now, Cedric? How old are you?
21. I won't turn 22 until September.
You just sound mature, man. You sound really. I'm sure Rob's thinking the same thing when we're talking to you right now. For a guy that, again, started in the D3 ranks and played, at Eastern Washington, only played a half dozen games here at Washington State. And I remember thinking this when we talked to you back at Media Day as well. All right, give me where your head's at now with the NBA draft process, because it surprised me a little bit that Duke would take a guy right now that's going through the process and hasn't already decided, hey, I'm going to withdraw. I'm coming to Duke. How did you guys leave it right now? Is it still that you're going to go through the process and then make a decision in a month or so?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no set timetable on when the decision is going to be made, but as I gain more information, as I talk to the people close to me, and that have the information in order for me to make that decision, um, and as I talk more to Coach Shire and the staff, we'll I guess, come to a decision on what's best for me. Something with Coach Shire and the staff that I really respected is that they respected my choices in terms of like still going along with this. Because like you said, I'm in a unique situation to where like you wouldn't expect a player that's going through what I'm going through right now to be, I guess, recruited and, so highly sought after by a Duke or a Kansas or a Kentucky or whatever it may be. But as I gain more and more information, I will make a more informed decision. It's going to take time. There's no set timetable on everything, but at the same time, it's ultimately just going to be as I gain more detailed information on what could be the best decision, then you make it from there.
The thing I love about the fit with you at Duke is that we saw it like quite a bit last year, but it feels like what John's trying to build is a team where you got your star and you got 4 guys around him that can shoot, that could pass, that could dribble, that could defend, and that can switch and be guard ones, guard fives, guard whatever. And you feel like the prototype for how you can run a defense and run an offense with that style of play. But that also happens to be what works at the NBA level, right? Like guys that are 6'6" with a 7'1" wingspan that can make threes and that can guard different positions. Those guys are pretty valuable in the league too.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I know one thing that attracted me to Duke, besides, obviously the brand, but was the basketball side of things. Like watching them this year, their so and so called star was Cooper Flag, best player in the nation, easily and well deserved. But something I looked at was like me coming in, Cooper Khan, Kamal Malawach, Tyrese Proctor, Deion, like the whole starting five, they're leaving, right? So how are they going to replace that? But then again, I looked at it from a perspective like Caleb Foster, me, the Boozer twins, Pat Gongba, Isaiah Evans, like we got killers on this team, and the shortest guy is 6'4". Like as much as you want to push a narrative like you have the one star and then the four guys around them that help. This is a team full of stars, and it's a team full of guys that are killers and just want to do whatever it is that can help us win, whether it's play defense, whether it's score 4 points like I said earlier, or 40. What I mean, each guy has the potential and the ability to do anything on any given night.
Hey Cedric, did you end up playing Shire 1-on-1 today and taking them
No,
down?
I didn't. I didn't play Shire 1-on-1. I'm not clear for contact yet.
Oh, that's right. You're still
Yeah.
where are you? Final question: where are you in your shoulder rehab right now? And what will you
Yeah.
be able to do even for NBA teams?
Yeah, I'm in a confident place where I would say like 75 to 80% of where I want to be. And but it's really just strength building and range of motion, getting back. But besides that, I can work out just fine. Like we're starting to add a little more contact each day in terms of not necessarily hitting the shoulder and like using bumps and stuff like that, but ripping through people's arms, defense will get on me, set up, stuff like that. That's starting to get more and more implemented into my workouts, and pretty much it ain't stopped me yet. I ain't had the epiphany or moment in time yet where my shoulder has just been like, nah, we're not doing that, dog. And I pray each day and before each workout that never happens, and I just keep going from there.
Well, listen, Cedric, we appreciate you being here, man. Congratulations on your commitment. I don't think there's a bad option here, right? NBA, Duke, like there's not a bad option, and you've put yourself into that situation. So, congratulations on that. Enjoy it. All I ask is that if you end up at Duke and you go for 31 night, we got to get you back on, man. Can I get that? Can I get that
Okay.
guarantee?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna guarantee it. That's gonna be up to Miss Rachel Baker, but if she gives
Well,
me the green light, I got you guys.
I'll ask her.
Yeah.
She's pretty good. I've known her a long time, so hopefully she'll clear
Mhm.
you to do the interview that we never got Cooper Flag to be able to do this past.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Appreciate you,
Thank you,
man.
Hey,
man.
Thank you.
Congrats.
yeah,
Congrats.
thank you. Appreciate it. Yep. Go Duke.
That was
Man.
Cedric Coward, man. He's an impressive kid. Impressive kid.
No. Like blew me away. Like we could have went with him. Our show's only an hour tonight, but we could have easily gone another 20 minutes talking to that kid. He was awesome. And I think Duke fans are going to love him. Like you said, his versatility, what he said, the two things, versatility and winning, and not worrying about the stats and anything like that. It sounds to me, Rob, and again, I could be wrong here because the NBA folks, they've seen him, but they only saw 6 games with him at Washington State. And now he's been hurt with a shoulder injury, isn't really going to be able to do full contact workouts for NBA teams. So he's a little bit of a mystery here to some NBA teams. So I'll ask you, like, your insight, just again, not knowing anything. We don't know anything about this process and how it's going to go. But what do you think happens at the end of the day with Cedric Coward in the NBA or Duke?
I mean, I guess it depends on at what point he is healthy enough to do the workouts, right? Like, is he able to get something in before what's the deadline to make the decision? May it's
I mean, you're talking a few weeks before the combine is like 10 days away at this point.
yeah.
It's not that
So
far. So yeah, I just
if I
don't
was
know
an
what he's
NBA
going to be able
team,
to do.
if I was an NBA team, I'd be a little bit worried about the I mean, the film that you have, he was great, but he was great against Portland State, Bradley, Idaho, scored 9 points against Iowa, Northern Colorado, and Eastern Washington. So that would be something that scared me a little bit, but he is a guy like I don't think that those numbers are flukes either is the only thing I would say. So selfishly, I hope he ends up at Duke, man. He's going to help Duke win games. He's going to help Duke win games.
I just want to see him. Like, I want to see him at that level when we really haven't seen much of him. I mean, I didn't watch him at Eastern Washington, and I've seen tape on him.
That's because you don't grind film, man. That's because you don't grind film. I watched those Eastern Washington games.
Eastern Washington.
I watched.
Actually, I saw him in the NCAA tournament game. That's right.
Yeah. I put some respect on Eastern Washington's name. All right, can we finally get to your take on Dylan Darling? Dylan Darling, Idaho State's point guard, commits to St. John's. They had avoided the point guard spot. It was something where I said last week that I didn't have them. I think I had them 10th, right? 8th. I think I had them 8th in the portal winners and losers as of last Wednesday. And I think this probably changes it for me. This probably gets them closer to like the top 5.
Ooh.
Yeah, probably higher than that.
I have
you need a point guard,
I had
man.
him, I think, at 3. Right. I think I had him at 3. And again, the one thing about Dylan Darling is he's tough. He guards. Now, he had to score for Idaho State, so he was more scorer than distributor. But I think he'll be more distributor than scorer at St. John's. And again, to me, he's a guy you need him to guard. You need him to make good decisions. You need him to run the team. He's going to have dudes around him. I mean, that's the beauty of you're looking at what he's going to have around him. And, you know, Ian Jackson and Sellers and Hopkins and Sannon and Zuby. I mean, those are 5 dudes. So it takes the pressure off him to whereas you don't need to hit home runs. You just need to hit singles. Run the team. Don't make mistakes and guard. And I think he can do all that. I think he can do all that from talking to people in that league. And again, he's very different than Ian Jackson, and that may work well to have those guys, you know, kind of, you know, being able to. I mean, I almost feel like Ian Jackson. I don't know if he'd deal with whatever Rick Pitino tells him he's got to deal with. But I think Ian Jackson, the best role might be him coming off the bench or a guy like Sannon coming off the bench, one of those guys. And starting a guy like Darling just to kind of settle the team down because he has played that position before. Ian Jackson has never played it in college. That's not what he was. When you and I saw him in AAU ball, you know, he was more scorer than point guard. He wasn't really a point guard.
I mean, it's not he's a scorer. And if you move him to the point guard, I've always been a believer in this, that you want to be able to put guys in a position to maximize their strengths. And if you end up with Ian Jackson at the point, I don't think you're maximizing his strengths to the level that you probably want to be able to. And even if it's just somebody out there to kind of set the table for you, I just think you need somebody alongside him. You can give him minutes at the point, but you need someone alongside him. Didn't Darling's dad? He was an NFL player, right? Like the thing that I heard about was just the toughness. The toughness level that you were going to get out of this kid. Like there's a level of toughness where you don't have to worry about that translating to the next level, right? You got to be taught. The Big East basketball is Big East basketball. You got to have a certain level of physicality to be able to handle it. And from what I was told is that he will be able to handle it. Doug McDaniel to Memphis. Can Dougie McBuckets, the new Dougie McBuckets, Goodman, how do you see that fit working out with Doug McDaniel, Penny, Memphis?
I don't know, Rob. I mean, again, we thought last year it was going to work out well at Kansas State, and it honestly didn't work out that well till the end of the year. They went through, you know, certainly a stretch in which they had a great month, but other than that, you look at Doug McDaniel and he struggled and Kansas State struggled. So I think the big thing to me for Doug McDaniel is it going to be much different at Memphis this year? You know, Memphis hit it this past year. They did it, you know, Tyrese Hunter, if you remember, he came out like gangbusters, making every shot from 3, taking pressure off PJ Haggerty, who could be a scorer, which is really what he is. They lose Haggerty. and they got to go get somebody. And McDaniel, probably came on the cheap a little bit based on what he did or didn't do a year ago at Kansas State. I think here's the deal with Memphis now. I think if they weren't in the AAC, I'd probably call them an NIT team. But because they're in the AAC, I think they're clearly the favorites. They're going to still have, even if they don't have, $7, $8, $9, $10 million, they're still going to have at least twice as much, probably 3 times as much money as whoever's second right now in the AAC in terms of NIL and finances. So they should win that league. But I think the jury's got to be out with Doug McDaniel and the Memphis Tigers this year.
You have Doug McDaniel, you have Sincere Parker, you have Aaron Bradshaw, you have Ashton Hardaway. That is a lineup where maybe 2 years ago, I think you look at that and you're a lot more excited about what it is now. So I think the talent's there. I think pieces are there. We'll see if Penny can end up getting
but
the
do you
best.
Have any confidence? Like if I'm asking you to make a prediction now, and we don't know their full roster is not quite done. But do you have any confidence that Memphis is going to duplicate the magic? Even though, again, the beauty of it is I think Penny Hardaway really matured as a head coach last year. I think we can all agree on that. He's come a long way. But do you have confidence that they're going to be able to do anything close to what they did last year? And they still didn't win a tournament. Now, I know they didn't have Tyrese Hunter in the tournament, but they did not win a tournament game last year.
Yeah, I think that they have the pieces to be able to get to the tournament because of the league that they're in. I want to see what else they do to fill out their roster before I say I think they can go out and win a game in the tournament. Do I think that they're going to end up being like in the conversation to get like a top 5, 6, 7 seed? The way that the roster is currently constructed, I would probably say no. But you need another big guy. I think you need more shooting on the perimeter. I think you absolutely need more depth. So Penny still got some work to do. Like a lot of teams still have work to do, but Penny absolutely still has some work to do. I will say this. When Doug McDaniel is at his best, he can be a really dynamic and fun point guard, similar to a kid like Kendrick Davis. And Penny had some success. Penny got to the tournament with Kendrick Davis, run of the show for him. So I don't think that it's out of the question that he could find a way to be able to make it work there. Derrion Reid, you wanted to talk about him. He committed to Oklahoma, which gives Oklahoma a roster where Xavier Brown, I believe Xavier Brown has officially committed, right? I couldn't keep track of whether he was committed or we're just all pretending like the kid that's going to get recruited somewhere when his stepfather's getting hired there. Nigel Pack is headed there. They got Tay Davis, and then today they landed Derrion Reid, former top 10 recruit in the country who played last season at Alabama. You're into this Oklahoma roster. You like what Porter's doing here?
I do, especially based on what they have financially. Again, you've got to put everything in perspective right now, right? I mean, Kentucky's got somewhere in that, we've said, $17, $20 million range. Illinois got big money. Oklahoma doesn't have that. So, I think what Porter did was brilliant, hiring Xavier Brown's, I think it was stepfather, as an assistant coach to get him from St. Joe's. Nigel Pack in his, is it 6th year? 5th year? He only played 9 games last year, whatever it is. He's old.
5th year.
He's definitely old. And I think he's in a role that fits him a lot better this year than it was for him. I love Tay Davis. I mean, I remember seeing Tay Davis out in the Players era in Vegas last year. Absolutely love that kid. And you know what I think of Derrion Reid. I think if he hadn't got hurt, this past season, I think he was a first-round pick in the NBA, but he got hurt, and he wants a bigger role. And at Alabama, he just didn't have that. Even when he was healthy, he was a piece on that team that I think would have taken another step this year for Nate Oates in Tuscaloosa. But I think Porter Moser's the beneficiary of him getting hurt last year. And I think he's got 4 really good players on this team. So I think this is the year that Porter Moser could break through here at Oklahoma.
Interesting. I do like their backcourt. I will say that, but I'm not 100% convinced. Real quick, I do think that there is one interesting conversation that we could have. The top 6 guys that are currently available in the transfer portal now that Stojakovic and Cedric Coward have committed are all guys. Well, 5 of them are uncommitted. The number 1 transfer in the country is Yaxel Landenberg, and he has he is committed to Michigan. But the top 6 guys are all also declared for the draft. And I think it's an interesting conversation because Cedric Coward obviously has committed to Duke, and it's going to be a choice that he has to make. But it's going to Duke where you're going to make a lot of money or be able to play on a team that can win a national championship. Or it's going to the NBA where I'm assuming that if he leaves and he stays in the draft, he will end up being a first-round pick, either it's this year or next year. But the other 6 guys, it's a little bit more of a clouded conversation. Let's start with Yaxel, because I'm kind of the mindset that he's probably going to the draft. It just feels like this is the kind of dude that has like top 20 pick written all over him. And if you're a top 20 pick, like I don't see how you could say no to the draft as a top 20 pick this year, next year, whatever year you're going.
Yeah, I don't know if he's definitely a top 20 pick. That's the hard part. And if he's not, if they're saying in the NBA, hey, you're going to go probably closer to 20 to 40 or 25 to 40 is usually the range they give. And Yaxel's got $3 million sitting on the table at Michigan. Or you could, again, you'll get a guaranteed contract, even if you go, 35 or 40, but it won't be $3 million for this year. You've got a decision to make at that point. And I think all these guys do. None of them are locked first rounders at this point. Certainly, to me, obviously, if you're a lottery pick, you're gone. You're gone. Like, there's no reason, even with the money that's on the table right now in college, no reason to come back. But if you're in the 15 to 25 range, gets a little sticky. You're probably in good shape. You probably should go for the most part. But if you're in the 25 to 45 range, I don't know why you don't come back to college. For a couple reasons, Rob. One, the money, right? We know the money is better right now. $2 million for the 30th pick in the NBA draft. Most of these guys right now that we're talking about are going to make at least $2 million this year. Some of them upwards of $3 million this year. The other part is, in the past, a lot of these kids would say, listen, I hate school. I don't want to go to school, right? I don't want to go to college. I'm done with college, whatever. Now, again, if they played 4 or 5 years in college, I get it. You know what? Like, I'm all for it too. 5 years of college, you should be done. 4 years and you got an extra year, okay, maybe you come back. But the difference now is a lot of these guys now never have to step foot in a classroom anymore. Everything's online. It's much easier. Trust me, I know. I have a daughter who goes to college right now, and she's crushing it, and I know she doesn't work that hard. Give her credit. She is crushing it with her grades and doing a full-time job. But again, I understand it's a lot easier than when you went to school, certainly than when, I went to Arizona. So it wasn't that hard for me. But all I'm saying is it's not as tough as it used to be going to class, going to school. It's not quite as taxing as it used to be.
I think there's two really interesting parts of this conversation to have. And the first is it's the fit. I think what Yaxel did is the right way to do it. And we've seen Cedric Coward do this as well, which is where you've talked quite a bit about this. You found yourself a landing spot where it is going to be the right fit for you if you decide to come back to school. You're going to be in a place that will put you in a position to be able to better your draft stock, to be able to better yourself as a player, to be able to make sure that if you are projected, let's just say that Yaxel Landenberg gets word back from the NBA committee and he's projected 30 to 40. I know they don't do that, but let's just say he's projected early second round and he doesn't have a guarantee in the first round. He's going to a place where he should be able to put up similar numbers, have a similar impact. And we just saw a guy like Danny Wolf play his way into being a top 20 pick in a similar role, I'm assuming, to what Yaxel Landenberg will be able to do. At the very least, you got a guy in Dusty May that is smart enough to be able to figure out a way to be able to make it work for you, right? So he found himself a really, really good landing spot with a really, really good number when it comes to what you can earn. And he still has the opportunity to go play his way potentially into getting a 4-year guaranteed deal as a first round pick in the NBA. And I think that's the way you got to do it. The truth of the matter is, for the most part, you're probably going to have more money this year if you are coming back to college for any of these guys, right? I don't think any of them are in a position where they're going to be able to have a bigger number for the first year of their contract than what they would get if they decided to come back to college and up the bidding war. To me, it's make sure that you can find yourself a place to be able to have the best fit possible in college. So if the results and what you're hearing from the NBA, if your agents aren't telling you, hey, we got you lined up for this organization where you could be a fit, or these guys are interested in you and you be a fit. And what you're hearing is, well, they want you at this place and this place, and those are bad organizations. They lose, are always thinking it's probably not going to be someone that prioritizes you. We haven't seen second round picks survive there. If you have good representation, you have a good agent, and you're able to find yourself a good landing place in college, then you can make an educated decision on who was interested you in the NBA. And I think that Yaxel is doing this the right way, and Cedric Coward is doing this the right way. And I don't know if any of these other guys, if their agents listen to the show.
Why? You know why? Ahead. They're doing it the right way because you may not be getting quite as much. Yaxel got money. I mean, he got about $3 million. I don't know what Cedric Coward got. I'm assuming he got paid well, but he probably, if he waited, could have gotten more money at the end, right? Let's say a month from now, he comes out of the portal. He probably could have gotten more money, but my guess is Duke wasn't going to wait for him. And he can make more money at the end of the day if he wins games at Duke next year and win more games, certainly, than some of the other places that would pay him a little bit more money, a month from now. So
and
again,
that's part of my point. That's part of my point because I think there are guys that, if you look at the guys that got paid the most this past season and waited for, instead of finding the right situation, they waited to be able to pull their name from the draft and then go to the highest bidder. I don't think that the highest bidder at the end of the day is
going to say who they are.
Yeah,
I mean, you could say who they were. Coleman Hawkins.
It was Great Osborne and Coleman Hawkins. I don't think that they ended up in the best situation for them as a player. And like for Coleman, part of it was he was banged up. He had a knee injury, and when you have a completely new roster, that's just hard, right? And Great Osborne,
and he wanted to make money, and he wanted. He wanted to make money because he didn't the previous year at Illinois. He was on a very low contract because he didn't put his, if you remember, name in the portal, so he had no leverage with Illinois.
Yeah, so it's, I don't want to say that they're cautionary tales, but like you got to be mindful that this is not a 1-year thing, right? If you're cashing out for the payday for 1 year, great. I hope you get as much as you possibly can, but there's much more money to be made if you put yourself in a situation where you are going to showcase your strengths. And I think that we've seen. Yaxel and Cedric are the guys who are the perfect example of why that would work. The other thing that I'll say is the cautionary tale for me would be that when there is not as much tape on you, when there's a little bit more hype, and when you are there's a good taste, like when people don't really know necessarily what to expect from you for the next step, when there's still a little bit of an unknown, it gives you a little bit of a higher ceiling. And when you come back to school, there's a little bit of a risk of, I don't want to say being exposed, but people can find out. You go from being someone that they're excited about saying this is what he can do to this is what he can't do. And the example that I'd give for this is probably Alex Karaban, right? Alex Karaban is the perfect complementary piece. I think that you would make the argument he's the best role player in college basketball next year. When he's your third option, your fourth option, a guy where he's a spacer, you run him off of screens, you can get him to attack some closeouts, and he could be a switchable defensive piece. He ends up being the fifth best option on 2 national championship teams. And that's why NBA teams were interested in him. That's why he had guaranteed money available to him, big dollars, if he had gone pro last year. He comes back to school, and he's supposed to be in that role. But then Liam McNeely gets hurt. He ends up moving up the scouting report, and he gets put in a situation that does not emphasize the things that he does great, and instead puts him in a spot where he's trying to showcase that what he has not done before. And I think that that's something where if you go to the wrong spot or if you come back to school and things don't go the way that you expect them to, you can also end up showcasing the things that you are not great at. And that's something that NBA teams keep an eye on as well.
So, given what you just said about one Alex Karaban, who has not publicly made his decision known, the NBA early entrant list should come out here very, very soon. What would you do if you were advising Alex Karaban what to do right now? Go back to UConn, where, again, his stock's probably on its lower end right now, certainly as opposed to what it was a year ago, where, again, like you said, whether or not he was going to be a first-round pick or not, he was going to get a really good deal. He's going to get a really good deal of probably a couple $1 million a year. Would you advise him to come back and try to boost his stock, or just be done with it at this point and go play? Because he's been in college for 4 years. He redshirted his first year.
Yeah, he enrolled 3.5. He enrolled in January. I would say put your name in the draft, right? I think that you have to declare. I think you have to go through some semblance of the process, right? I don't think you need to go to the combine if you don't want to go. I think you declare and you go and you get the word from those NBA organizations and you hear what they have to say. I think you have to do the due diligence. If I'm advising Alex Karaban, I'm telling him to declare, go do the due diligence. You know you have a landing spot. UConn's not going to recruit over him. He's a guy that won 2 titles.
Are they going to have all the money? What do you do if you're UConn, you're just going to wait it out? You're going to do what Georgetown Ed Cooley is doing with Thomas Sorber right now and just saying, hey, there's nothing we can do. Yeah. Okay. I mean, you have to with Karaban.
The reason I say that, the one, he won 2 titles for you. 2, he passed up on having that guaranteed money to come back. And that's part of why
he was loyal. He was loyal to you.
He was loyal. So you have to be loyal.
You're saying in return?
But I absolutely 100%. And if there's one thing that I believe Dan Hurley will do, it is be loyal. I think that the guy is probably loyal to a fault. And that's part of why you see guys like Solo Ball not go in the portal, and like Terrace Reid not go in the portal, and like Jalen Stewart not go in the portal, and even to Jaden Ross not go. Like, his loyalty is why he's able to get guys to come back, I believe. And I think that you have to do this with Karaban, part because he came back for you when you said that you were coming back to college, right? That's part of why, a major reason why he pulled his name out was because Dan Hurley asked him to pull his name out, right? And I don't know if he explicitly said it, but he made it very clear.
Happened. And then everything happened right afterwards with the Lakers, right after.
Yes. And then everything happened. And that's that. Like, so I think that you have to leave that spot open. And I also think it makes sense, right? Because if you don't get him, there are still pieces there that can do some of the things that Alex can do. And you can go out and you can find another big wing and you can find another backup 5. Those are the 2 things I think they need: another backup 5 and another big wing. If Karaban comes back, then you have that big wing spot filled with probably the best possible piece that's there. If not, then you go find somebody else and you go find another backup big, and you have a lot of money available to be able to go find backups to pay competitive salaries for them. So I think you have to declare, and if you're UConn, you have to wait it out. And I think it's just the way that process has to go out. And I think that's the way that I expect it to play out. And I will say this too: I think the situation that he will be in will be much, much, much better next year, much more similar to what it was his freshman and sophomore years, because Silas is going to be the go-to guy. And because Terrace Reid is, I think, is going to end up being an all Big East, first team all Big East caliber player. And because Solo Ball might end up being the leading scorer with all of those things considered because of how dangerous he is as a shooter. So all of a sudden, you're once again the number 4 guy on the scouting report. And you go back to playing the role that made you great the first 2 years, that made you be someone that NBA teams wanted to give guaranteed 7 figures to. And I think that in the long term, with the amount of money you can make next year, is what puts you in a position where you'll be able to be at your best and become the best prospect that you can be in an NBA organization's eyes. Yep. That's all I got. Yeah. Goodman. Right. Good work getting 2 surprise guests that were legitimately good this week, man. I'm impressed with you. You're 3 for 3 on those. Ryan Conwell, Cedric Coward, and Todd Golden are 3 3 good gets. So I will allow you to continue playing this surprise guest game. One more. You get until you get a swing and a miss. When you get a swing and a miss, then you got to stop it. But
I don't miss. As you know, Rob, I don't miss.
Well, when we're doing this, I've seen you shoot. So I've also seen you in football bowling, and that was not the greatest performance we've ever seen. So for Jeff Goodman, for our producer Dagan Hughes, for Trevor Release, appreciate Todd Golden jumping on, appreciate Cedric Coward jumping on after he finally got out of the elevator, which was hilarious. My name is Rob Doster. We'll see you guys, I think, on Thursday. We're going to be doing our next episode on Thursday at some point.